Welcome back for yet another episode of Toriko Unveiled. Per our last video and the winner of yet another poll, we journey back to Toriko. But before, why not leave a like on the video? It's the holiday season and likes like a free gift, so maybe you could give one to your favorite content creator. Okay, I'm being a little much. Second favorite content creator. But without further ado, let's talk wolves. Today we journey to Area 2. Area 2 is a chain of continents all surrounding Area 1, and is home to Akashia's main dish, God. When I say chain of continents, I mean quite literally that Area 2 is comprised of a great many islands that themselves are also massive and unexplored. Presumably, one of the 7 great civilizations was once located on this continent, although it is unknown if this civilization still exists. Currently, the only man-made settlement that's known to be active in Area 2 is Neo, headquarters where Joey and the rest of the Neo staff reside. Area 2, also as the video title says, is home to the Battle Wolves, a legendary species of canine that has populated the gourmet world for eons. Our first look at the Battle Wolf was actually very early on during Toriko, in the Regal Mammoth arc in fact, where we saw Terry's mother and of course, Terry's birth. We also saw that at less than a week old, Terry was easily matching, analyzing, and evading beasts with capture levels dozens of levels higher than his own, or speculated to be his own, and could run at speeds higher than 60 miles per hour for long distances. Terry was a baby, and his mother was a clone, and even their feats are nothing when it compares to a real battle wolf in the wild. It is stated that a massive beast once threatened not only the gourmet world, but also the human world. This gluttonous creature was an herbivore that devoured everything in its path, and there were herds of them. It is said that these huge creatures were in fact obliterated by a single battle wolf, and only later in Toriko do we get to witness the power of an actual battle wolf. Enter the Wolf King Guinness. Guinness is ruler of Area 2 and one of the smaller 8 kings in fact. Comes in at 100 meters or 328 feet long and 55 meters high and 20,000 tons. So for scale, Guinness is as tall as the Leaning Tower of Pisa if it was upright, and is roughly the length of the Chrysler Building. And still, Guinness is a lot smaller than other kings like Daros or Heracles, but to the contrary, Guinness's feats amongst the kings are actually more prevalent. One of the first times we actually get to see Guinness in motion is against Toriko and Starjuan. After the two of them encountered his second in command, they eventually came to blows with Guinness himself, and in their brief scuffle, we get to see how intimidating of a creature Guinness is. Eyes darker than night with small pricks of light within them. He is oddly terrifying and has somewhat of a human-like face, which overall makes it feel like Guinness is staring directly at you. Once the fragment of Neo appeared, one sniff and then he one-hit KO'd it. And keep in mind, the fragments of Neo all scale similarly, and one that encountered Knocking Master Jiro, who, when he attacked, Granny Setsu warned not to strike the planet, and even after being struck by this, the fragment still survived in space. So, since Guinness one-shot at the Area 2 fragment, we can confirm a casual stamp of his paw will be enough to leave out planetary levels of damage. After this, we see he can also cover hundreds of miles in seemingly microseconds, after blowing Toriko and Starjuan several miles away from them. And even then, he easily dodged Toriko and Starjuan's attack that had just almost sent a fragment of Neo into space, and the attack he dodged still scarred the planet. Even still, in his debut power, we get to see that amongst all of Guinness's feats, every single thing he does where he strikes the ground causes ripples that deform the Jupiter-sized Toriko planet. This being shown on several occasions, like I just said, and especially towards the end game against Akashia. The force of Guinness's attacks are in general so great that I had to search incredibly hard for a real life example to compare it to. And so with that everyone, sit back as we go a quick 66 million years ago. A giant asteroid 7.5 miles or 12 kilometers across crashed into the ancient shallow seas today covering the Yucatan Peninsula, with 10 billion times the power of the Hiroshima nuclear bomb. Like water ripples when a stone splashes into a pond, the impact rippled the Earth's crust, theorized to have resulted in a crater about 124 miles wide. This asteroid would have punched a cavity into Earth 18.5 miles deep and 62 miles wide, crushing the surface downward and forcing rocks outward. The nearly vertical unsupported sides of the impact crater would have started to collapse inward, possibly leaving out massive explosions and dust clouds twice as high as Mount Everest. And when we look at Guinness strikes on Akasha, it's clear to see that the mushroom clouds and debris are likely a lot bigger than Mount Everest. This is a perfect example, once again, about how Toriko characters are solidly above planetary level, and they all just somehow value their planet and don't instantly destroy it. And Guinness's durability also scales similar. Guinness also possessed the unique ability, or I guess trait, that with a single sniff, he can analyze and decode all information about something, down to its genetic or atomic level. This can work on water, stones, people, flesh, bugs, it doesn't matter. This effectively will rip the soul out of those affected by it, leaving them in a pale and ghostly white state, and is even strong enough to halt solar system level beings in mid-combat. This knocked out Starjuan, a fragment of Neo, and was even used on Akasha in the final battle, which allowed the rest of the 8 kings to set up on him. And of course, Guinness commands one of the strongest groups in the gourmet world, the Battle Wolves. On several different panels, we see the Battle Wolves were there in full force at the battle with Akasha, and in my opinion, were defending their home of Area 2. They fought Akasha, the Blue Nitro, and overall aided the battle, while in comparison, every other 8 kings brood outside of the Deer King and his army on his back came alone. This is a testament, I feel, to the loyalty of the Battle Wolf species. Guinness was unbothered by his pack's movements, and we know he even had a second in command, so it's clear that the Battle Wolves have somewhat of a complex hierarchy, which is why it's even more shocking that Guinness is the only known member of the 8 kings to have ever taken a member of another species in under his own wing, that being the legendary Knocking Master Jiro. And as we know, Jiro was killed by Akasha because he didn't go for the head, but anyway, we know Guinness actually truly felt for his adoptive son, because when Jiro vanished from the world, the Wolf King Guinness howled, mourning the loss of his child. And Guinness even remembered during the battle with Akasha, and even after losing a hand or paw, still set up Akasha for the rest of the king's attacks. One of the more featured 8 kings, but like all of them, incredibly complex, and we can't even begin to know what he was actually thinking. Gods in their own right, but for now, we'll bring this video to a close, everyone. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, thank you. Remember, stay sane and stay safe, and we give thanks for the bountiful wealth of knowledge in the Toriko universe.